Hi, it's me, Vicky Marie. And sorry, I'm not got my face on tonight because I'm really tired, and I'm ready for bed. To be honest, I've got my jammies on, so I'm not putting the camera on. In here with me, oh, oh God, it's come on my phone. Hang on. Oh, it's so loud. That just started playing on my phone. How strange. Anyway, so yeah, I've got my pajamas on, so I've not got the camera on me tonight. Sorry about that. Well, to be honest, I was going to have a bit of a night off tonight. I decided I was going to have a night off, and I was doing a Friday night live. And then, of course, it came up that there was going to be a news briefing about this Robert Card, about this serial shooter who has sort of disappeared and they're looking for. And I thought, oh, I'm gonna cover that because, my opinion, I really feel like this guy is no longer on this earth, and I'll tell you why. Because the press briefing that we saw earlier specific about everywhere that they were going to search. I thought, well, if this guy is out there armed and dangerous, why are they telling him where they're going to look for him? And it was sort of like they did also sort of almost prepare us that it was going to take a while, because the guy was saying, oh, we're going to have a press briefing every morning. We're going to have a police briefing every morning at 10 o'clock. And if we need to do an extra one in the evening, we will, or in the afternoon. And then lo and behold, today they're doing an extra. This morning that they would only do an afternoon briefing if there was any news. So I think maybe, do you think they have found him? So they've been concentrating their search on the river or the lake. I'm going to show you a couple of videos in a minute about it while we're waiting for the press briefing, which is supposed to be in about half an hour. So first of all, I'm just going to say hello to everybody. Go up to the top. You've all been chatting. Hey, Chumba. Hope you're okay, Chumba. Hi, Shelley. I don't think he's crossed over to Canada, thankfully, Shelley. It did look like that at one point. He just could have been anywhere, but I don't think he's gone anywhere. I think they're going to find him. And I think that note that he left at home, he was telling them what he was going to do. Of course, they don't know that he's done it. He could say that, couldn't he? And then he could be lurking in the bushes, waiting for them to come along and then sort of kill a few of them. But I just thought it was strange. Do you know what I mean? That he told the police were so specific about where they were going to search. When they've got an armed and dangerous man out and about. Very strange. So, hi Shelley, hi Daisy May, hi Rio. Oh, not the F1 again. Oh my God, the F1 seems to be on every 5 minutes. The F1's on more often than me. Oh my God. Whatever floats your boat. I'm glad you like it, because somebody's got to like it. Hi David. Claire, hi Claire. No luck with your getting back into the members thing. Anyway, it's nice to see you on here at least. Hiya. Yeah, David's new mask, Claire. Got to wait till Tuesday to see it now, because you can't get onto your members thing. That's a shame. Oh yeah, it seems funny to see you on there without the green. The members thing for the green. Oh, Chumba American. Hi, Tina. Yeah, they seem very interested in the lake, don't they, Rio? They don't seem to be really, to me, it doesn't feel like they're looking for a living person with an armed and dangerous guy. It just doesn't feel like that. Hi, Jackie. Oh dear, it's chaos. Hi, Claire. Oh, we've got another Claire. Distinguish you from the other Claire. Got two Claires. We've got Claire 1 and Claire 2. Okay, so what I'm going to do, and I just want to say quickly, thank you to everyone as always. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking. Don't forget to like. Thank you for any of you that have joined, any of you members. Thank you for supporting me by being members. Thank you for any of you that have sent me a super or PayPal'd me. And thank you. Just thank you so much. Of emails, messages, etc. In fact, I just want to say I've been a little bit overwhelmed in a way by the emails and the comments, only because today I sort of just had to stop doing it because it was just taking so long. So if I haven't answered your comment or if I haven't answered your email, it's not because I don't want to. It's just literally I just sort of ran out of time and I was tired and I just thought, oh my goodness, I just can't do this. And that's nice. Don't get me wrong. I'm not complaining. I just don't want you to feel hurt that I have. Hi, Ocean Blue. I'm getting mixed up with Claire's. Yeah, new Claire. That's a good way to. Yeah, better than Claire 1 and Claire 2. We've got new Claire. Oh no, because then we have to say old Claire, and that wouldn't be good. That just doesn't sound right. So no, we'll have Claire 1 and Claire 2, I think, or the other Claire. Yeah, something that doesn't insult everyone. Okay, so I just want to show you because I've got to keep an eye on when the press conference is going to start, but I just want to show you a couple of videos that we see. Well, this first one is News Nation, and this is a guy explaining why he doesn't think, because then of course because
let's start in Maine with Alex.
Because we found this guy's car abandoned next to this river, and that's why they thought he might have gone off on a boat. And then, of course, if he'd gone off on gone, but what this guy is explaining to us, he couldn't escape. If he has gone on a boat, he could not escape, according to this guy. So let's see.
On the water now as the search continues for the suspect in Maine, and I know this is a big part of it, is moving onto the water. Tell us where you are and what you've been able to uncover so far today, Alex.
Yeah, hey, good afternoon to you, Connell. We are right now on the Androscoggin River. This is obviously the main waterway that crosses from Lewiston all the way, and if you take it all the way, it'll take you all the way to the Atlantic Ocean. The spot where we are seeing those massive manhunt efforts on the water is actually about 5 or 6 miles that way. You can see that dam, that massive dam, that's Lisbon Falls, and that is a very important structure for me to point out to you. And the reason is this, because there's been a lot of speculation on whether or not the suspect, Robert Card, actually had a boat waiting for him at the boat ramp where he left his car. But that dam is going to be the big reason why he could not take any sort of watercraft from that spot all the way to the Atlantic Ocean. It is physically impossible for any sort of watercraft to actually go over that dam. Not to mention, there's another dam about 6 to 10 miles that way. So he would have to cross at least 2 dams before getting to the Atlantic Ocean. What is possible for actually going over the dam is a body, a human body. And I think that's the reason why we're seeing those investigators actually combing that area using both dive teams as well as sonar systems and aircraft to see if there's any form of life or any body that might actually be here.
Yeah, so this guy is saying the same, you know, I think generally the thought is that they are not looking for a living person. And Shelley, I just want to say, I know that his video is not very good, unfortunately. And also, he can't get anywhere near anything, and he will miss the news. Well, maybe not miss the news conference, but unless he's actually sorted out his video, I feel awful for Jay, because I love JLR, but sometimes when he goes out into these areas, he can't get a very good signal. So even though he's there live and everything, and also at the moment he can't get anywhere near the places where he wants to get. I think he wanted to go and have a look at the bowling alley and stuff, but he can't get there. So I'm sticking with News Nation and Sky News for now. But I have been watching JLR's video. So what he's been because then he gets and then playing them.
Now, I know all this about the water because I've been here with an expert, someone who's lived in Maine his entire life. This is Tyler Angel. He's a boat captain. He's a business owner. And he's lived in Lewiston his entire life. And he's been telling me all about what it's like here on the water here in Maine. So, Tyler, let's bring you in a little bit. I want to know exactly what you think investigators are encountering when going on their mission of searching the waters, because there's quite a bit of difficulty that they'll likely run into. Tell me a little bit about those main waterways and what you think that they would have to get through and get past in order to have a successful search.
Yeah, just like you said, that it'd be very difficult to get a watercraft down to the ocean from here. I think what they're looking for now is a body. But as you can see, we're sitting on a boat right now. It's very strong current. That will head right out to the Atlantic. The water temperatures are cold at the moment. It'd be very difficult to swim or stay alive in these cold waters.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's important when we come out here and do these stories to talk to the people themselves, the community members, because obviously this is a massive tragedy happened to your community. You are someone that's lived in the Lewiston area your entire life. So just tell me a little bit about how you're doing, how your friends, your family are doing, and how you make sense of this tragedy.
Yeah, rural Maine is definitely a close-knit community. You never imagined that something like this would happen. I have 4 children. We locked our doors. We locked our cars, very, very afraid on Wednesday night.
Yeah, absolutely. You were telling me a story that actually your 15-year-old nephew was manning an ice cream stand that your family owns when that all went down. Tell me about his experience.
Yeah, so he was working at the ice cream shop right next to the bowling alley, and all of a sudden, hundreds of police officers were driving by, and he called and was like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm getting out of here.
You mentioned that this is a small community, but everyone knows each other. So even if you weren't directly impacted or know a victim, you know someone that knows someone. So how do you talk to each other through this tragedy, and how do you sort of find healing together?
It's definitely a small community. If you don't know somebody, you know somebody that's been affected. But we're a strong community. We'll come together and we'll get through this.
How do you feel right now that the manhunt is now still underway, that they haven't found Robert Card? Obviously, that's on everyone's minds. The shelter in place is still in effect.
So my wife's home with the kids right now. If you go out on the roads here, they're very, very quiet. And yeah, it's definitely scary.
Yes. So you're worried. You got to be, right?
Yeah, I'm definitely worried. But
I can't imagine how that would feel, isn't it? I mean, I don't even go out that much, to be honest. I hardly ever go out. I don't know if it'd make that much difference to me, but there's nothing like someone go out, is there? That's the thing. It's not going out because you choose not to go out is one thing, but knowing that you can't go out, and at the end of the day, these people, they've got I mean, I work at home, so I'm lucky like that. I could not go out, but if you've got to go out, you've got to go to work, you've got kids, they can't go to school. It's very must be an awful feeling. So the police will be everybody will be wanting to get this situation resolved as soon as possible.
Lewis community will get through this. If I had to guess, he's either not alive anymore, or he's long gone from this area.
So you have full faith in the law enforcement that's out here doing their jobs?
Yeah, I have 100% trust in them.
Yeah, and like I said, Connell, about 5 miles that way is where that massive operation is taking place. We're going to get off the boat and head that way and check in on the latest on them. We do know that there are dive teams in the water, like I said, helicopters that are going ahead. They told us, the Department of Public Safety told us, those choppers are responsible for actually scanning and using thermal technologies to know exactly where divers should be pinpointing.
So I just thought it was very interesting this morning when they did the news conference. He told the media where they could go, where they could set up, where they could park. You know, they are targeting a specific area, aren't they? But nobody can get near the specific area. But he has, they have controlled where the media can go. You know, which I found that very interesting this morning, because if you've got a guy on the run, literally on the run, you know, with a gun, and you don't know, if you don't know where he is, you'd be telling people to stay well away from that area. You know, not encourage it. He was almost encouraging them to come, as long as they went to the specific areas that he specified. But yeah, I feel like they don't think this guy's alive, but you know what? They could be wrong. You'd imagine they just go searching for him, then he comes out behind him and shoots them all. But anyway, he hasn't done that, so you've got to think then, well, maybe he is no longer on this earth.
So that way they're as efficient as possible. Meanwhile, we also know that there are still investigators and boots on the ground, men and women and soldiers and law enforcement officers that are actually going out there and searching throughout all this massively forested area here in Maine. So that manhunt's still very much underway. The people here in Maine being told to shelter in place for the foreseeable future, because right now this suspect should be considered armed and dangerous and alive.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find news.
Yeah. So did you notice what he said? He said, for now, this suspect should be considered armed and dangerous and alive. So anyway, what do we think? Anyway, I've got another video to show you before the actual checking on to Sky News, make sure they're not preparing for it. So we've got one more video to watch. Let's see. We watch that one. Oh, you might turn the wrong video off. Right, I think what I'm going to do now is go through the victims as well again. So we still don't know all of the victims. So Jackie, you're saying earlier on, let me just put Jackie's comment up there. So earlier on, I saw the divers in the water and officers approached a tent in the wooded area close by. They unzipped it, looked in, and then left the scene. Do you think maybe they might have found him already? Possibly they found him. Gosh, what a strange thing that he's done. Why would he go out? Anyway, we don't know yet, so we'll wait and see until we actually get the see what they say in the press conference. Okay, now, so as I say, we still don't know all the names of the victims. The actual police have named some, but also some of the families have come out and said, you know, about their loved ones, etc. So let's see what it says here. It says the 18 people. So God bless their soul. We say a prayer for all the victims, and not only the victims, but their friends and family. The 18 people killed in 2 mass shootings in Lewiston, Maine, included a 14-year-old bowler, a shipbuilder who loved playing the game of cornhole, whatever that is. I don't know what the game of cornhole is, and a sign language interpreter. State police, 7 people died Wednesday night at just-in-time recreation bowling alley. 6 were male and 1 was female. 8 more people, all male. Also, it was only 1 woman in the whole total. 8 more people, all male, died at Shemenges Bar and Grill. 3 others died after being taken to hospitals. Authorities have not released the victims' names, but their family members have been confirming their deaths. So we've got, I mean, this is tragic. This is a dad and his son, Bill and Aaron Young. Bill Young, 44, of Winthrop, had taken his 14-year-old son Aaron to play in a youth bowling league. Gosh, I mean, you just take your child to go bowling, for goodness sake. At the just-in-time recreation, and both died. Bill was a man dedicated to his family. His cousin Kim McConville told the Associated Press via social media, he was a master auto mechanic, always trying to be a funny guy. Aaron was an avid bowler who had received recognition from the youth league. In a statement, the superintendent of Winthrop Public Schools confirmed that high school freshman and his dad were amongst those killed. Jim Hodgkin's statement said an uncle of another high school student was also killed. This is a tremendous tragedy for our area, our town, our students and everyone. This is uncharted territory, Hodgkin said. Then Peyton Brewer Ross, he was a dedicated pipe fitter at Bath Iron Works. He was doing something he loved, playing cornhole. I'm still not exactly sure what cornhole. I'll look that up in a minute. He was a character. He didn't meet anyone he didn't like, Wellman Brewer said of his younger brother. Okay. Oh, and he was engaged. They just celebrated the 2nd birthday of their daughter, Elle, or Ellie. I'm not sure if it's Elle or Ellie, 2 weeks earlier. Oh. There's a hole in our family now where he used to be, and it's going to hurt for a while. Then Joshua, yeah, because I think 2 of these people that were shot that they've talked about so far were actually deaf, and some, but we don't know anything for certain. Joshua Sears, a sign language interpreter, was shot and killed while playing in the cornhole tournament at Shemengi's bar with other members of the deaf community. So maybe it's just that there just happened to be a lot of deaf people there. His wife, Elizabeth Seals, said he was a wonderful husband, my best friend, my soulmate, a wonderful boss, an incredible interpreter, a great friend, a loving son, brother, uncle, and grandson. Oh. It must feel like she then said, it is with a heavy heart that I share with you all that Joshua Seal has passed away. No, he was murdered in the 10-20. It still feels surreal. I expect it feels very surreal. Then this next guy, Bob Violette, he was 76. Then he had a volunteer job coaching the youth bowling team that was practicing on that Wednesday night. And he's taught so many people over the years how to bowl, and he wasn't getting paid. We've been focused on trying to keep the sport alive, and Bob was really an integral part of that. Michael Desloriers, his father said his son, oh, this is the one, I'm sure that this was the one whose father, he literally had been there and he confirmed that his son was one of the ones killed, and he said his son and a friend both were killed. They charged at the shooter after making sure their wives and children were safe. Oh gosh. Joe Walker, the bar manager at Shemengi's Bar and Grill. Trisha Asselin, she worked part-time at the Just-in-Time Recreation Bowling Alley. She had Wednesday night off, but she went bowling with her sister. She went to call 911, but she was shot and killed. Gosh. Pool with his father at the bar. His son wanted to stay and play a couple more games, but his father left. Oh, this is the one whose father left shortly before the shooting. Yeah, he said, I said, okay. And he said, I love you, because all my kids tell me that every time we see each other. 10 minutes later, I get a phone call. Okay, so they're the victims that we know so far. So we don't know all the names of the victims. conference for tonight. Well, yeah, very brave man, because if somebody's brave man, because somebody's got a gun there, and they made sure their family was safe, and then tried to rush the guy, and he shot them and killed them. But very brave, very brave. It makes you really emotional, actually. Hi, Susan. So cornhole is a game using bean bags thrown at a tilted board with a hole in it. Yeah. Does any of my British viewers know about that game? It must be a game that we don't have in the UK. I'm going to just have a little look at it, actually. See if I can find a photo to show everyone, because this really is a new game to me. Let's have a look. Let me share this with you. It shows you a bit of... So here's the cornhole table. Let's see what it says there. Cornhole is a lawn game popular in North America in which players or teams take turns throwing fabric beanball bags at a raised angled board with a hole in its far end. So the goal of the game is landing a bag on the board or pulling a bag through the hole. Gosh. Yeah, well, I can honestly say I've never heard of that before, so that's interesting. That would be popular in Spain because just trying to work out how they throw things at it. Yeah, very new to me, that I've never seen that before. So there's cornhole. So I take it they play it indoors as well if they had it in the bar. Interesting. Okay, let's see what's happening with this. Oh, I've lost my Sky News. Right, I'm just coming back to see what you're all... Hi, Cats. Hi, Bad Fairy. Yeah, it's interesting. The game, I mean. David, you're naughty. I know, Claire, I want to cover Kirsty Maxwell. The thing is, I want to actually go there to do it. And I haven't had a chance to go there. This is what I'd like to do. I'd like to do that on location because it's not that far away from where I am here in Spain. Actually cover that on location. That's the only reason why I haven't covered it so far, because I don't want to do it from the computer. I'd like to go actually to the hotel where it happened and do it. But I'm not sure when that'll be, but it's all, it is on the back burner. It's not been forgotten, I can assure you. Well, you're not late yet, Bad Fairy, because we're waiting for the press conference or the debrief or whatever you call it, the latest debrief. There's supposed to be one anytime now. So while we've been waiting, we've just been watching a couple of videos and we've been learning how to play cornhole, which some of the unfortunate victims were playing that night. Apparently it's a very popular game. in the USA. Look, it looks interesting. It's like a, yeah. So I'm hoping that by the time, in a moment, Sky News are going to cover this press conference or debriefing, and if Sky News aren't going to do it, I will find it somewhere else. In fact, while we're just waiting, I'll have to chat between yourselves for a while I just make sure I've got a contingency plan. Just over it. I've got to make sure that I'm getting it covered somewhere else. Oh, there you go. Right, we are. We're going to go to JLR then and watch it with him. There you go. He's there. Oh, he's got better. When he was out and about in the country and that, he didn't have a very good signal, but hopefully he's sorted that out.
So what the speculation is that they're preparing some graphics, putting some graphics over there. They don't want it to be shown yet. So they wanted everyone to come out in the hallway. This should be getting started very, very soon. And for me is to cover this case with all of you. Going to the locations, covering the manhunt, wherever this takes through. Will they catch him alive?
Claire, Benidorm. Sorry, I've jotted down while we're waiting. Benidorm can be a really nice place, actually, but the time, you've got to be careful where you go in Benidorm. You should not go, well, first of all, when you go, do not go in the summer. That is not a good time to go, definitely not. And also, there are two parts to Benidorm. You've got the new Benidorm, which they call the English Quarter or the British Quarter. That is not a good place to go. That's just like Manchester City, load of drunks and crazy things. Although there are nice things about it, like there's like lots of dancing. There's a lot of places you can go and dance. I like the music there. You can go there like old-fashioned discotheques where you can go to and they play really good music. They have really good tribute bands on, so it's not all bad. The problem is it normally descends when it's busy in the season. It normally descends into fighting and arguments. But then the old town, people go, it's a completely different place. And the beaches are lovely in Benidorm, and there's lots of things to do, so I quite like Benidorm just to go for a weekend. I wouldn't like to live in Benidorm, but it's nice to go for a weekend. So it looks like something might be about to happen soon. I've turned JLR down at the moment, but I've got him ready to turn up. But yeah, Benidorm's not a bad place. What? Listen, the chat is deteriorating. Oh, dear me. Yeah, the Spanish Quarter is lovely. I've a couple of times. It's just really nice, so also I would never go in the summer. So yeah, Shelley, you're not far from Maine, are you? I wasn't actually. It's you, Chumba, you and Claire, you're a bad influence on each other. Oh, here we go. I think they've started because the Let me just turn. I need to turn the sound down. Sound up, I should say.
ASL. So thank you for being cognizant of our ASL in your pictures and TV. Thank you.
Bravo.
Yeah, it's still, his picture's not brilliant. Bless him, JLR.
Allie, your shot is not on. What?
But it's not on, it's definitely, it's not on Sky News. I might have a look and see if I can find it on anything else.
They said soon. Is your shot up, Allie? Yeah, it should be. It should be up now. Okay. Yeah, they just told us everyone's.
Yeah, I've gone over to News Nation. Hi, Kate. Claire's talking about somebody else. Now I've gone over to News Nation, which has got a nice picture, but there's no sound. I don't know if it's just because nobody's saying anything at the moment. Hi, Kelly. David, I know it's the women. They're a bad influence, aren't they? Oh, dear me. Hi, Mark. I still haven't worked out if they're just not saying anything or if there's no sound.
All right, thank you very much
sound.
again for joining us. My name is Mike Soschuk, and I am the Commissioner for the Department of Public Safety. For starters, let me just say, for the consideration of the 4 death victims and their family, we are requesting that the ASA is in all frames for language access here in Maine and the U.S. They are grieving and have a right to know the latest info in ASL. You can see we've changed this a little bit, the kind of the setup from earlier today. And again, as we continue to evolve, right? Lots of podiums, lost our maps. The whole thing was a little bit of a mess earlier, to be quite honest. And our victims in this investigation, the people that are doing the work, deserve better than that. So I would also tell you that we're kind of looking for a larger venue as well. The chains here and everything else seems to work. We're going to use some technology for some pictures here right off the bat. So I would say that, again, thank you for joining us. It's been a busy day for our law enforcement officers and our partners around the state. I'm going to give some updates from what we found, but the real primary reason I wanted to bring you back in today was we wanted to really identify the victims, show their pictures. We won't get into family backgrounds and their lineage at all, but we do want to show those pictures, give ages. I would say that the families didn't want hometowns listed. They do certainly want some privacy around these issues, which makes complete sense. And we're going to start with that component of our information simply because that's why we're here, right? This is about the victims. That's why we do what we do. And that's why we're striving so hard. And that's why you're here, because you care about them as well. So we're going to go ahead and I think Shannon Moss can also put that information out following this. Some specifics here, I would just like to note that the families actually approved these photos, sent these photos in to us for a lot of different reasons. I think some of them show a little of their character, a little of their relationships, and some other specifics. You'll just see again a picture, a name, an age, and then there's a couple symbols there. And we wanted to be specific enough to what location they ultimately lost their lives at. And again, thank the families for allowing us to even do this. They certainly didn't need to do that. They're working through their own struggles, and rightfully so. So I'm going to start with this and then ask for just a moment of silence before we continue on to our next agenda item. But that top left, as you see it, and that is Ronald G. Morin, 55. And I won't read the venues. You can put that all together yourself. Peyton Brewer Ross, 40 years of age. Joshua A. Seal, 36 years of age. Brian M. McFarland, 41 years of age. Joseph Lawrence Walker, 57. Arthur Fred Strout, 42. Max A. Hathaway, 35. Stephen M. Vozella, 45. Thomas Ryan Conrad, 34. Michael R. Deloria II, 51. Jason Adam Walker, 51. Tricia C. Asselin, 53. William A. Young, 44. Aaron Young, 14, his son. Robert E. Violet, 76, and his wife, Lucille M. Violet, 73. William Frank Brackett, 48 years of age. Keith D. McNair, 64. Just have a moment of silence. Thank you. Thank you for that. Truly, truly appreciate it. And we do, again, appreciate that to the family. They did give us those photos. I did not, however, have any of the family members pronounce any of those last names. So certainly no disrespect intended if in any way screwed up the pronunciation. So to move on, I would also like to address the numbers of the victims that I confirmed earlier today with the number 8. And I will tell you that's miscommunication on my part. I was wrong. In talking to our detectives, we had a list for people that had been identified and family members that had been notified. There's also a separate list that involved family advocacy and whether or not they had been plugged into that. So the reality here is that all 18 of those victims identified, and their families have been notified. So we were in contact with them. I would expect some more information later tonight, and I'll definitely talk about it tomorrow morning at 10, reference to Family Information Center, a new location, and some material around that, exactly what services will be available at that particular time. But I definitely wanted to make sure that I correct that mistake from earlier. So several other updates from this morning's briefing. I know that Shannon has sent along the aerial maps that we showed or tried to show here on the board. So you have received those. I also think that we had, and Shannon has corrected this as well, but the Jebscott boat ramp, the proper name there was the Paper Mills Trail and Miller Park boat launch. The address was correct at 501 Lisbon Street. The jump Scott is a little bit further down the river, apparently, and we certainly like and appreciate everybody working with us to make sure that we had the proper location, the proper terminology for that. And other additional updates, the boat launch search of the river, the Androscoggin, they're still out there right now, and they'll be there as long as they can based on the light. And as we mentioned earlier, we're talking about sonars and grid searches and things of that nature. That's time intensive. It's taken them a while to work through there. They want to make sure they do it right. So we're not going to finish that search this evening. I would be surprised if you ever saw resources available to us from out of state, as well as some additional in-state teams. So again, we'll discuss that a little bit at 10 o'clock tomorrow, but no surprises. We expect that to go over, and that we'll have some assets there tomorrow. They did a bunch of flyovers this morning, as I mentioned. They did the sonar searches, some side, some ROV, and we'll be back on that tomorrow. The bar scene itself, they continue to do their on-scene investigation there, as well as at the bowling alley. They did check those wood lines. They may be back in there tomorrow as well, but that is progressing as expected. And I think another piece of updates for you now is to talk about the shelter-in-place order and where immediately. And I'm not as important that you hear this directly from a couple of different sources. We're going to put out a release. There's going to be a cell phone, a geofence release to some folks. We've used that a couple times already during the active shooter as a warning and otherwise. But the shelter-in-place order is rescinded, except hunting is prohibited in the towns of Lewiston, Lisbon, Bowdoin, and Monmouth, beginning Saturday, 10/28/24, until further notice. The state police continue to search in Lewiston, Lisbon, Bowdoin, and Monmouth for the suspect, Robert Card, and recommend individuals remain vigilant. Businesses may choose to open or remain closed. Commissioner Camuso from IF&W is here to help us answer any additional questions about that hunting piece. It was asked this morning, and it was a good question, and I told you at that time that we were working on an answer for that. And what that means is that the general shelter in place has been rescinded. Specifically, hunting, again, is prohibited in those 4 towns and those 4 towns only. And it's important that I mention that because the rest of the state is allowed to continue with their resident-only day on Saturday, tomorrow. And what does that mean? That means that there are going to be communities that hear gunshots from time to time because they're going to be hunting. So we would ask everybody to use caution in that and not think that every one of those gunshots is directly regarding this particular crisis situation, this investigation. So clearly, if they're suspicious, if they're concerned, they can certainly call their local agencies. But I would ask them to think about that, where they're located, when do they hear that, if they're 150 miles north, do they need to call their 911 center and create a response? And I think I would say no to that unless they have another set of facts, a fact pattern that would believe them that there's a direct connection between that gunfire and what they've heard to this point. So we had mentioned why we made that decision initially because of the crisis and the situation that we had. Those 4 towns in particular, clearly with Lewiston and the 2 tragic situations here, the 2 locations we already talked about. And then you have Lisbon with the boat launch, Bowdoin where the suspect lived. In Monmouth, there's other family connections in that particular area as well. So this is not to say that the crisis is over, the emergency is done, we can go about our lives as life is good. We want our folks, we want our residents to remain vigilant and to pay attention to what we share for information. I again focus on what we share is in the Department of Public Safety in the city of Lewiston, because we continue to see a lot of information from a lot of different places that is far from accurate. I would also say in that regard, when we say that we're going to meet you here at 10, we're going to meet you here at 10. And when we say we're going to notify you, we are going to notify you in the afternoon if we're going to get together and what time that is. I just encourage you to believe that until I prove you wrong. And I won't. And I say that because we've heard some other stuff. There's going to be a press conference at 1 o'clock. And then our PIO, who's incredibly busy, gets 100 emails that says, is it going to be 1 o'clock or is it going to be this? And you've got a job to do. I get it. And we're trying to help you do your job. And if you can help us do our job, that would be greatly, greatly appreciated. So that is some of those pieces for updates from what we worked on this morning. A couple of additional things. Neighborhood canvases, as an example. I did not speak to that. So we talked about large deployments of officers in various locations. What would that look like? Neighborhood canvases could be a couple of officers knocking on a door. And that's going to be happening at various locations around this particular area in multiple towns. Again, if somebody's using their own common sense and they say that doesn't seem right, then sure, call. But you could have 2 uniformed officers or 2 officers with clearly displayed badges jumping out of a marked car to come talk to you as detectives. There was a question this morning around arrival times at the 2 locations, and we had done some research on that, which was hot off the presses walking out the door to come here today. So spare time, as we had mentioned earlier, that initial 911 call was occurred at 6:56 p.m. And by the CAD system, or the computer-aided dispatch system, so somebody calls in on a radio and they says, now I'm out at that location. The first officer, the first Lewiston officer, arrived based on that system at 7 p.m., so 4 minutes later. The reality there, however, is that there were 4 plainclothes police officers that were shooting on the range in that general area. They hear that call come in, and they're walking into the bar and, or rather the bowling alley, in about 1.5 minutes. So they don't have radios. They weren't in uniform. They hear it as they're at the range. They respond to the address immediately, and then they address the threat and clear the. An example, you have Lewiston Department. They work with everybody, so it's not uncommon to see Maine State Police in town, but they don't have specific areas to patrol. Calls came in to dispatch centers for the Department of Public Safety that would control the Maine State Police, as an example, at 6:57, so a minute-ish later. And we troopers right inside the town, so 11 minutes later, our first trooper arrives, which is not uncommon, actually, and that's a pretty good response time, considering it's an urban atmosphere and troopers aren't here. The second set of calls, as we've discussed, came in at 7:08, so this is the bar and grill. And the first Lewiston officer is responding there at 19:13 or 7:13 p.m., so 5 minutes later. And then really it becomes exponential after that, as an example. Should have mentioned this earlier, but spare time, a minute after those initial officers respond, 8 more are there. Now we're saying now everybody's starting to roll in about the same time, and about 10 officers are responding to the bar and grill immediately thereafter. And then people are just showing up from the police department and other locations. And that particular service for the Maine State Police through dispatches, we got that second call at 7:10, about 2 minutes later than the Lewiston Center received it. And we had officers responding and arriving 3 minutes later. So why is that? They're already flying to the first address, and now we got a second call, and now they're diverting to that second call. So it's obviously they're in town and they're running hard to that location. So those are the arrival times that I was asked about earlier today. I think based on this that I made this morning, I think that's all we had for information. And I'll just call that kind of updates and follow-ups, things that I knew you were asking. There were some additional questions from the general public, which has been good for us to receive those through these, right? They get a chance to see stuff and then they reach out and say, what does this mean? We had a bunch of people reach out about that shelter in place and what does that mean and what should I do and what does that look like? And rather than answer those through conversations with city staff, city leadership, police chiefs, we decided to rescind that order again, but recommend that people remain vigilant as they move forward. So I do appreciate them reaching out, and all of that contact has something to do with our ultimate decision. Where do we go from here? So with that in mind, that's the information that I was asked and the information that I can update. We do have, I believe, the suspect picture up here as another piece. And the reason that we did this is because it's been quite some time. We've seen that photo, and you have a bunch of different photos. This, in fact, has more the physical description of his height and weight and is more artificial hair and eye color. You could guess at that based on some of the photos that you see, but any material that you have there, so that brown hooded sweatshirt, and we showed him walking in to spare time with that firearm. So I think that's the information that I wanted to get out to you today. I appreciate you coming back or holding on. I know you have long days and long nights. So that piece, you were going to be around anyway, I'm sure. But I am, again, happy to try to take some questions and answers. The chief is here as well, but we did want to keep this tight from an operational standpoint. So, yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah, sure. So officers are required to qualify a certain number of times a year, right? So in this particular instance, the officers are in plain clothes. They're shooting at a range right around the corner. The call comes in, they hear that, and they're going to respond, which just speaks to when these things happen, everybody's going. You could be a detective, the chief's bailing out of the station, you could be wherever, everybody goes. So being Lewiston officers, they go, we know where that is. Everybody gets in the car and they immediately go to spare time to help in any way they can, not knowing they're going to be the closest there and the first out. So that cuts almost 2.5 minutes off the original or the initial uniform police officer's response. And that's not uncommon from a police standpoint. Sometimes you got months where you're thinking, well, I'm right around the corner when all this stuff happens. And sometimes I'm on the other side of the city when other stuff happens. We're very, very lucky that the officers were that close, because I think gave lives with time responses. And in an urban atmosphere, depending on where everybody is and how busy the night is, that response could have been much longer than that. Yes, sir. Yeah, so we have, again, 530 plus tips and leads that have come in. Some of those have been sightings. Some of those have been, and I would say as simple as, but hey, I've got a vacant house that's in this location. I own a barn that I'm afraid to go to. There's something over here that concerns me. So those things run the gamut. And I'm also going to use that opportunity that the FBI supervisory agent in charge, Jody Cohen, who has been with us during these press conferences. We gave that digital video information out this morning. There's already well over 100 entries in that system. So that means you're putting that information out and the general public is grabbing hold of that, wanting to be involved and sending that information in. So I thank you for that. And we certainly thank the FBI for their assistance with that kind of material. So we've got all kinds of, if somebody may say, we have not. Law enforcement has not seen him in the last 2 days. But again, in that stack of that 500 plus, you may have somebody that says, hey, we see somebody that looks like that. So we have not. But go ahead, man. Yeah, I cannot. And I'm not going to speak to the note itself. I acknowledge the fact that a note existed this morning, but I'm not going to get into exactly what it contained. But, sir?
Sir, you said that the officers, plainclothes officers who responded, addressed the threat, cleared the building. Can you explain what happened there?
Sure. When I say address the threat, they're going addressing an active shooter. So they're going in prepared to do whatever they need to do to make that scene safe. On that particular time, the suspect is no longer there. They're going in as if they were. So the first thing you do is you go in and clear that location, make sure it's safe, and then you start working with victims and triaging people and trying to make sure that you're getting additional units there as fast as possible. So, yes, sir.
I wonder if when the officers arrived at the second scene, the suspect was still there, or whether by the time the first responders arrived, the suspect had already left. And secondly to that, outside of the area of Lewiston and the surrounding community, you talk about the work that's going on further afield, the suspicion that we might have been able to flee a bit further than that, potentially outside the state.
Yeah, sure. So the suspect was not at the second location when the officers arrived. As we discussed this morning, we showed those 3 maps as specific areas we knew we were definitely going to be working in. And then we've also cleared other areas that are farther afield. Somebody may again say, there's a barn over there. There's an outbuilding over there. There's some family property that somebody's uncle owns, and you check that. So as those things come in, some of those are kind of on the checklist to begin with, and then some come in real time. Because as those leads come in, we do look at those and then we farm them back out to either tactical units that are looking on that apprehension side or investigative units that can go out and do additional interviews. Well, at this point, we are cognizant of all possibilities. We're not closing off anything because we want to make sure that we're being as comprehensive as we can with these particular searches. Yes, ma'am? In what town?
Okay.
Durham. Okay, yeah, that's a situation where I heard on the radio somebody had reached out to say that somebody may ask that question today. So we did look at that. There was a location there on a street in Durham where there were 2 911 hang-up calls. 911 hang-up calls happen on a regular basis, depending on where they are. You may go, okay, wait a second. And then we had a second call. And then there was a sheriff's deputy that responded to the scene and then ultimately did not answer their radio, right? So you go 911 hang up, 911 hang up. Okay, wait a second. The officer that responded is not talking. That could be for a lot of different reasons. Again, based on the circumstances, we're certainly concerned about something like that. So officers did respond, make sure that he was safe, the scene was safe, and they moved on. So there was no direct connection at least in today's call for service. Yes, sir.
Have you at this point secured or gone to all the residents, every place where he had lived previously? Have you gone to each one of those homes? And additionally, at this point, have you executed all available search warrants? Search warrants at the houses, at his car, social media, electronics. Have you put all of those search warrants in, or there's still others?
There's still a lot of work to be done around the search warrant side of the house, just based on workload alone. I don't know, however, have we searched every house that he's had over the last amount of time? Certainly the ones that most recent. There's a Bowdoin connection, which caused a bit of a stir last night. That was a location we were concerned about. Our reality from a homicide investigation, as an example, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you may have done 1 or 2 search warrants. Based on electronic devices and everything else, you could do up to 30 search warrants on one. So this kind of situation, clearly there's going to be a lot of affidavits, a lot of work to be done around that. Working with the U.S. Attorney's Office, the Attorney General's Office, federal entities are assisting with these warrants. That's an all hands on deck. You just never know, I'm going to open this device and that's going to be the one, right? So we farmed that out to make sure we're making as much progress as possible. And I'm sorry for waiting. Go ahead. Yeah, so I think that goes in 2 different directions, right? We certainly have a lot of resources coming for the river tomorrow, because it would be nicer if it's sunnier, you can get a better look into the water. So that's one angle. If it's colder, there's an argument to be made that your thermo style of equipment, where you're looking for body temperatures or heat signatures, may work better in that scenario. So it does definitely vary. If it's cold for the suspect, it's certainly cold for our officers as well, and all those different things. We're certainly prepared and willing to do all those things, but that's where we're at. So yes, sir.
Discuss some of the reasoning behind why you removed the shelter-in-place orders in some towns where you acknowledged you're still actively searching. And secondly, do we know how many weapons Card has in his possession?
The second question is no, I don't know how many he has or had. Our weapons within that residence, that'll be part of the search warrant and counting those things out. And the decision to release that or rescind that shelter-in-place order is something that we've discussed internally as command staff members at the CP, and saying, okay, we're looking at pros and cons, right? We've got communities that are locked down, that are shut down. There are families and schools and pharmacies and all those things. So we knew going in, and have acknowledged that repeatedly, that we know that can have a negative impact on people. So the other side of that is we had very pointed threats early on, reference to these locations, and nothing specific since then. So you have to look at that, and you have to do the math on that and say, so are we more harm than good by keeping people away from these clinics and their doctors and schools? And while this is still absolutely a dangerous situation without question, we've got to make recommendations and ask the people that we serve, ask the people that we protect, to be vigilant, to pay attention, to listen to what we have to say. If you see something, say something. Because in most cases, you're like, I don't like that. That looks strange. we can feel that, especially when you live in neighborhoods, right? You're comfortable with that. That deal, that car is wrong coming down my driveway at this particular time of the day. What is going on? So that we don't come to those decisions to go into the order or come out lightly by any stretch of the imagination. But we do appreciate all the input from everybody about what does that mean and how it's impacted me as a person, right? So I appreciate that. Yes, sir. All possibilities are open to us. I don't have anything specific reference to that particular question. Well, next steps, where did he go after that and what was he in or not? Which is why we have feelers out in all directions. Is that a possibility? Sure. Is the river a possibility? Sure. We're going to continue to work those things until we're comfortable that those things have mitigated to the best of our ability, right? Because some of these will serve a search warrant on. Doesn't mean we're done. And new information and go back and check a location again. So all those things are absolutely available. Sir, right here. That's a good question that I don't know the answer to. I know that the Attorney General's office told us this afternoon that they were trying to complete the rest of those warrants in a timely fashion. Now that those individuals had been identified and the families notified. I'll have that answer for you tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock for sure. And right here, ma'am, sorry.
Yes, two questions. The first is whether you can confirm that police found the gun in Card's car, the one that the suspect's car when it was started.
Mhm.
And secondly, I was wondering if you could talk.
I've come off that because you can't actually understand the questions that is being asked. You can't hear the questions that are being asked, so the answers don't make sense. But so anyway, but going back to what we're talking about, yeah, I don't get scared of horror things anymore. I used to when I was a kid. Having said that, I was scared of him, but I really liked them. I read all the Stephen King books. In fact, I was reading them when I was about 12. I always read horror stories, watched ghost stories and things, and I was terrified. But I was one of those people. I was scared of it, but I liked it. Like it's like you sort of, people like being scared, don't they? But now I'm not really scared of anything. It'd take a film or a book wouldn't scare me. When I say I'm not scared of anything, I am scared of some things, but I'm scared of real things now. I would never get scared of a book or a film. Psychological things. That's what scares me the most. I don't like gory things, gory films and stuff like that. They don't scare me. I just don't like them. But the ones that can scare me sometimes are psychological thrillers, like The Silence of the Lambs and stuff like that. So yeah, but there are some things, I've got like funny little fears. Like I don't like getting in taxis on my own. I've got a real thing about getting in a taxi on my own. If I got in getting in a taxi with other people is fine, but I don't like this one out. That's a fear that I've got. But again, it's same with flying. I don't like flying. But I would do it if I got the opportunity to go to Maine. Not at this moment. Not while there's an active shooter about who hasn't been caught. I would go. Wouldn't stop me. I would go anywhere if I got the opportunity to do it. But there was a time when I wouldn't have gone. So, that's right. I think mental things in you. Most of the time you're scared of things that aren't real, or you worry about things that haven't happened yet, and things like that. Our mind is the scariest place, really. Your mind really can sort of bugger you up. You can be happy when you've no reason to be happy, or you can be sad when you've got no reason to be sad. I was a bit disappointed with that press conference because I was convinced that they were going to say that they'd found this guy, or that there was, because they were, why did they not wait till tomorrow morning just to say they had nothing to say? But anyway, they're going to, so there'll be the next press conference, unless there's any actual developments, the next press conference will be tomorrow at 10 their time, which I think is 4 o'clock my time. So we'll be on for that if there's no development. God, I've just been bitten by a mosquito. So anyway, I'm going to love you and leave you because I'm tired. Yeah, do you know, Claire, in the beginning, I didn't think it, in the beginning, I thought it was going to be long. Then I thought, no, it's not going to be long because he's deleted himself. And now I'm back to thinking maybe it'd be long again. But anyway. Okay, so yeah, because it's 20 to 12 here now in Spain, it's well past my bedtime. I'm going to go to bed. I think, yeah, I've seen that about Philadelphia and about not only Philadelphia, is it, in a lot of these new drugs that, drugs. It's terrifying, isn't it, for those people that live on the streets. Anyway, I'm going to bed. So I will see you tomorrow. And until then, may your gods go with you. And thank you so much for being here with me tonight. It sounds like you're all awake and chatting with each other. You're welcome, Tina. You're all still awake and chatting, and I just want to go to bed. So I'll see you tomorrow. Night, night. Bye.